All right, 7:31. So let's go ahead and get started if y'all can hear me just fine. My name is Bill. I am the current president of the club right now. We've got some real quick business and announcements that we want to get out of the way and then move on to the presentation. Don't want to take anything away from the presentation. Um, Winter Field Day is coming up. Ed and I are have talked about going to Don Carter State Park this year, which is north of Atlanta near Gainesville. The reason being it's about as far from downtown as Sweetwater Creek is, but at Don Carter Park, they have cabins, which are like little houses that can sleep about six. Um, the only issue that some of us have with Sweetwater, and I like Sweetwater Creek, but one of the issues I have about it is we're in a common picnic area and they have yurts, about 10 of them that are right there near the picnic area. So if we're out banging around doing stuff late at night, we're going to be disturbing the people in yurts. And in the last couple of years, we've rented a couple of yurts. And again, the issue is if we're operating from the yurts and we're in and out, we're moving around and we're talking on the radios, and the people around us won't be very happy. Nobody has said anything the last couple of years, but it's a concern. The cabins are more widely separated. They're 150 or so feet apart according to Google. So my plan is tomorrow to go out. They'll be open tomorrow and actually see if I can not go in one, but just go out into the area and look around and see if we can get one. If I can, I'd like to take a crack at it. Um, I'll bring this up to the executive board and we'll make a decision before we spend any money on it. But anyway, we are going to do something for Winter Field Day. And if you've got any suggestions or if you want to if you got ideas of things we can try to do during field day, special events, special antennas, whatever, post it to either Groups IO or send a letter to one of the board members and let us know, and we can put together a plan for field day. Otherwise, we will just congregate in one place or the other, set up a few radios, get on the air, operate as late as we can, pick up early on Sunday morning and run to the end. Seems to be a lot of fun with Winter Field Day. We do want to do something, and we'll make a decision by this weekend whether it's going to be at Sweetwater Creek or at Don Carter State Park. That's kind of the two in the running. 2026, maybe we do something else.
Hey,
Uh,
Bill.
yes, sir.
Bill, it's Scott, KD4MSR. I'm going to be in Gainesville tomorrow. I go to Gainesville on business about once a month, sometimes twice a month. And tomorrow's my Gainesville day. I think I'm free between 12 and 1. I was just wondering when you might be going over to Don Carter. I just thought I might go at the same time if I happen to be free then.
Well, if you're going to be there between 12 and 1, then I will be there between 12 and 1. How about that?
Well,
Because
I mean, it's going to be kind of rushed for me because I'm leaving one meeting and
oh, I got
basically
it. Okay.
going to another. But I think that my 1 o'clock meeting ends at about 2:30, I hope, but I don't want to be in that late afternoon traffic coming back, but it's
Yeah.
just always bad. I'm used to it. It sometimes takes 3 hours to get home. It's
My
just,
plan was to go up and get my annual state park pass, which I tried to get it a couple
yeah.
of weeks ago, but they wouldn't sell me one for 2026. So I go tomorrow and get it. And I figured while I was there, I'd just say, hey, can I go look at the cabins? If you want to try to get there between 1 and 2, I can make that work. I've got no plan. It's
Well,
not
I'll just I'll put my phone number in the chat and you can call me maybe when you're heading up there or something. And
okay. I can do that. I can do
uh,
that. The
anyway,
plan was to get my annual pass and then move on further north and hit one of three wildlife management areas, which I have on a list here. I've activated every POTA park there is within reach. It's time to start getting the WMAs and the fishing lakes and things. I
yeah.
thought I'd hit one tomorrow. I'll give you a call. We work out something.
Yeah. All right. Great. I just wanted to be a help. I think my state park pass expires in March. So uh, they're funny about letting you buy a new one with until your time is run out. It's crazy.
Figured on the 26th, there'd be no problem getting one. Can I go ahead and get a 2025 and just punch January? Because I got a December. I got one that expires in January 20.
Yeah.
No, they wouldn't do that. We can just punch it for December. I said, no, I'll just wait. So yeah, I'll give you a call tomorrow. We'll figure something out.
Okay.
I'm not working right now, so my schedule is just real flexible. Anybody got any other suggestions or comments they want to make about Winter Field Day? All right. Insurance, I'll let John take it because he's been dealing with the insurance and access to the bank tower. That's now between John and Ed. They've been managing it. John, take it away. Did we lose John? Is John mudded? Once? Twice? All right, Ed, take it.
He's waiting on a quote from that guy, and we think the guy is on vacation because of the holidays. So
Okay.
he's expecting to hear back from him
So it's still
this
hanging.
week.
Okay. All right. Well, we've hit a few snags with the insurance, with the people at the bank tower not actually responding to us in a timely fashion. We're still insured. That's not the issue. The issue is we still don't have access to the bank tower. The new insurance kicking in will take care of it. So we'll just wait until we have a more full update on that. That being said, everything else seems to be in the works. Winterfield Day is the big thing coming up. That's about it for the board. Anybody got any other business they need to throw out before we move on?
We got TechFest next Saturday.
TechFest. John, why don't you do TechFest?
All right. Well, TechFest is Saturday the
11th.
and I believe it starts at 8:30 out there at the Gwinnett County Fairgrounds, and we do have a table. So, please feel free to come out and hang out. And they do a chili cook-off, and I think they have some other things going on out there. So it's a pretty neat event to come out and see. It's all free and just a good time. So like I said, we'll have a table, so we'll have a place you can kick up and relax and meet and greet and do some other things. So
So that's the 11th?
That's the 11th, Saturday.
Yeah, I was afraid of that.
Yeah, you're usually out of town, I think. So
yeah, I know the Greenwood Ham Fest, they lost Piedmont Tech, and they went to a church which is closer downtown, and I'm not sure now if it's the 11th or the 18th. I need to reach out and find out, but I do have two tables there, whichever day it is. So if y'all have never been to Tech Fest, it's a blast. It is certainly worth. I went to one back during one of the blizzards, and I stayed away from the chili though. I'm suspicious of amateur made food. Anyway, enough said. Anything else? Any more?
Something quick about TechFest.
Sure.
Jack McElroy, I guess Audrey's brother, is going to be launching an APRS balloon at 9 a.m. outside. So it's a big demonstration of a high altitude balloon launch, and I guess you get to see what the payload is, what the radios look like, and then zoom. It's skyborne. So you could do that.
Do they have any idea where it's going to come down?
I haven't seen that, and haven't seen that.
just depends on where they shoot it down at.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. Another Chinese thing. Oh God, that's become a big thing. All right, yeah, thanks for that. I had completely forgotten about the balloon. I did see the email on it. Yeah, that if the Greenwood Ham Fest is on the 18th, I'm going to go. If not, I'm already committed.
The Greenwood Ham Fest is the same date.
Is it? Yeah, I was kind of afraid that it. I know they bounced it a couple of times because of Piedmont Tech, and they're having the same issue that a lot of ham fests are having. The venues are suddenly decided they want to charge 30% to double what they had, and they couldn't afford Piedmont Tech anymore. And Piedmont Tech was a great location for them. I used to live in Greenwood. The church they mentioned, I'm wanting to say, God, I'm not going to say anything else, but I think they're going to have problems with space there, but we'll see. Thanks for the update. I hadn't looked at it in a while, other than knowing I have two tables. All right, Ed. I'm sorry, Rob. Your presentation. You're a presenter. You're the guy. Go for it.
We're going to the repeater report.
Okay. Yeah, Stephen. Stephen, you got a repeater report? Going once?
Yep. Hey
Nice.
guys. So I have heard that the 220 repeater may not be linking in for the net, and it seems like the repeater controller may be losing track of the time. So I am going to have to look into why that's happening, but I am definitely going to see what's up with that. And that's it.
As long as you can get to it remotely, right?
Yeah.
Could it be just a time? You know, they took the power down on the entire building for one afternoon a while back to change the lights and is it possible the batteries just didn't keep the clock running?
It's possible. I mean, I've already reset it once.
Can we manually link it if it's not linked?
Yeah.
Yeah. But if he's already reset it once and it's lost time again, then that indicates something else going on.
Yeah, but for the net on Sunday, if it doesn't come up, we can link it manually then.
Correct.
Oh, got you.
Yeah, just send a DTMF if you would, and then make sure the
Sure.
net up. Thanks.
All right, that sounds good. And Rob, I have not made the phone call yet. I need to push that. I didn't do it today. All right, Rob, presenter time.
Presenter time.
This is yours. Go ahead.
I got a Christmas present a little late this year. I was trying to find a speaker, and I reached out to one and never got a reply. And then I reached out to another one. He was going to see his mother. And Steve sent me a note on Monday asking if we were still on for the second, because we had talked last year about doing it several times and it kept getting pushed off. So he actually contacted me and said he was ready for the second. So I thank Santa Claus for that. Thank Steve for that. And let me just so our speaker is Steve Smith from Huntsville, Hamfest land, KM4CJ, I guess land of gigaparts too.
That's right.
Yeah,
Can
KM4.
you guys hear me okay? Can you hear my audio okay? Okay, great.
Yeah, you're good. So we're going to hear all about digital tonight, or FT8 or something, right?
That's right.
And this should be good. So I will turn without further ado. I know speakers are always better at introducing themselves than I am. So.
All right. Well,
No,
thank you very
speaker.
much. Oh, well, thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity to come talk to you guys. You guys are great. I guess Rob had asked me last year, we talked about, I guess he may have seen a presentation I did for the Huntsville Amateur Radio Club on FT8. And he goes, hey, we'd like to hear about that. And I said, okay, great. So we went on, but we had some scheduling conflicts. And the last time we talked, he goes, hey, can you expand that a little bit more and talk about digital modes in general? And I said, sure, I can do that. So I've actually got two presentations, and they're not real long. We're not going to be here very long, but just talking about what are the digital modes, and then we'll deep dive onto the FT8. So that's what I've got. Been a ham 38 years, real involved. I president of the North Alabama Repeater Association, and I loved hearing the repeater report on the timer isn't working and the links aren't coming up. I hear you. Same always, it's just part of it. But I'm president of the North Alabama Repeater Association, member of the Heart Club, assistant emergency coordinator for Madison County for Aries, and then I teach classes at Gigaparts on amateur radio in general topics, and then I volunteer in their store just to help people get radio. So I like talking about radio stuff. So that's a little bit about me. I am retired from Boeing, and I enjoy my retirement. Spend most of my time doing ham stuff, so it's great. All right, so that's enough of that. Let me see if I can share. Go ahead. Questions? Was there a question? Oh, okay, I'm hearing some echo back, so you may want to mute your stuff if you're not talking.
Yeah, mute your mics if you're not talking.
Okay, it says share.
Carl, Arnold, and Rob and Ed are not muted.
Yeah, so, and it says sharing needs to be enabled by the host. If the host can do that.
Okay, host. John's out there.
Hey, Arnold, you still are not muted.
Hey, Rob, I'm gonna have to make you a host. I can't seem to do it from my phone, and I've only got phone tonight. So hang on a second.
Yeah, the error message was sharing was not turned on.
Trying to find my Bill. Give it a Bill because I'm the host now. I'm trying to find my Zoom screen. Oh, I love all this.
Yeah,
Oh, I know what it is.
doesn't like to do stuff from the.
Okay, there's Zoom. Okay, so is it turn sharing on down at the bottom?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, one participant can share at a time, right? So
Sounds good.
that's already set.
Oh, let me see. It says sharing is not turned on. You can request multiple presenters sharing for this meeting, and I can. How about
Okay.
it says
Let's
Just do
go
the
to multiple. Okay, multiple presenters. How's that?
there you
multiple.
go. All right, there we go. And let's see if I can find my screen and let me, tell me if you can see a full screen there.
So you text in a
There it
minute.
is.
Yes.
You guys are good? All right. So let's get started. Let me get to my program here. All right. So, well, let's see. Yeah. So why even do digital modes, right? There's people that go, man, we've been doing voice and CW forever, and why do we need all this mess? Well, you can transfer data. That's kind of a cool thing. Packet, email, slow scan TV, and you can send information rather than text or voice. You can use the computers to encode and decode. Very efficient bandwidth. Most modes are a fraction of the single sideband bandwidth. Efficient use of power, signal to noise ratios a lot better than voice on a lot of these modes. So it's an efficient mode, and it's a good way to get information across. And there's some people who don't like to talk on the radio. They like got that mic fright, but they'll go do to a digital mode. So it appeals to some folks, and it's fun is my main reason that I do it, and so those are my reasons. So what is a digital mode? So digital signals, series of signals that are either one or two states, represented by ones and zeros. Amateur radio, we use modulation techniques to represent the digital data. One of them is amplitude shift keying, where the digital data is a variation of the amplitude or the carrier wave. If it's at a certain level, it's a 1. If it's at a different level, it's a 0, and you can switch between the two levels at a certain rate, and you can transfer some digital information that way. Frequency shift keying is the other modulation technique that's used, where we shift the frequency around the carrier wave to represent two different states, if you will. Audio FSK, which is the most popular, that's the one that most of these modes use. That's using your sound card in your computer that transmits audio tones in the passband there. Uses a couple of tones to represent different bits of the data. Some of them use multiple FSK. There's several tones that they use. And then there's binary FSK, where that's the old RTTY, where you have a frequency that's a 0 and another frequency that represents a 1. Phase shift keying is another technique where you use a signal, you shift it 180 degrees, and based on the phase, it represents a 1 or 0. And there's a whole bunch more. And here's just a few. A lot of these digital modes out there. There's a lot out there. Some are more popular than others, but they are out there. Here's an idea of some of the digital modes, what kind of modulation they use. If you look on the left, there's the audio shift keying, frequency shift keying, multiple tones, phase shift keying. You can see, maybe you recognize some of those modes, maybe you use some of them, but those are the modulation techniques that they use. And you can see there's trade-offs between how much information you can send, how fast it is, how narrow the bandwidth is. All those are trade-offs. The duty cycle, most of these are about 100% duty cycle modes, but there's a bunch out there, and it's sometimes difficult when somebody starts. What do I use? Well, there's only a few that actually have a lot of activity on them, and we'll talk about those a little bit. But there's a bunch. Most popular radio teletype RTTY. It used to be real big. I was a big RTTY guy when I first started, and that was a lot. That was a lot of fun. it's a keyboard to keyboard. You type in a text, hey, this is KM4CJ, Huntsville, here's your signal report kind of thing, and somebody responds back to you. It's uses a 5-bit memory code. 45 baud typically is the baud rate, and that's fast enough for keyboard to keyboard typing. There's no error correction, and it uses AFSK. Your sound card emulates all that, and works pretty good. Been around a long time. It's pretty solid. A little bit later, PSK 31 came along. That's another keyboard to keyboard technique. Uses binary phase shift keying. You can send all the ASCII characters with that one. 60 hertz bandwidth, so it's pretty efficient. And you can put 80 PSK 31 signals in the same bandwidth as a single sideband. So very efficient mode. Uses low power. Most folks, under 50 watts kind of thing will get you a contact pretty good. So PSK 31 is real popular. It outdid RTTY for a long time. Then the JT65, FT8 kind of stuff came along, and that's got the most popular today. And FT8's computer to computer, uses 8 FSK modulation. It's got 8 tones that it modulates against. We're going to talk about the details of that in my next presentation. It does have forward error correction. Has a very strict protocol, limited messaging, but it's a 50 hertz wide signal. So you can get a bunch of those in a single sideband side, and it was designed for weak signal stuff. It's got a great error correction technique and pulled signals out of the noise. It's a good mode. So those are the most popular ones. Most people are getting into it. We'll get into one of these at least. And if you have any questions along the way, just yell out there and say, hey, stop, back up or something. So where can you find them? Here's some of the most popular ones, and all the bands have a place, a gentleman's agreement about where these signals are. This is where you can find them on the bands. I work all the bands. It's a lot of fun, but this is where you find them, and this is where you hang out. And if you tune around to here, you'll hear some strange noises, and you'll get to recognize what they sound like. You can go online, and there's a website that's got, you can click on like an RTTY signal, and it will play what it sounds like for you, or FT8, so you can actually hear them. So they sound kind of funny sometimes, but they're out there. And so this is where you'll find them. So what equipment do you need? Well, you need a computer to host the software. You need some kind of a sound interface to get the mic and speaker interface between your computer card and your radio. A lot of new modern receivers have built-in sound cards. I've used the signal links a lot for a lot of mine. I like them more so than the sound. I like them because they've got a transmit and receive knob on the front that I can tune down or change right on, rather than having to go into Windows and add into increase or adjust something. I like having a discrete box in the middle there, and it works pretty good. Then so you got to have a sound interface, and you got to have a way for the, push to talk, transmit the radio, and the signal link uses Vox. It uses the audio coming from the sound card to trigger a circuit that then grounds the relay that transmits, that does the PTT on your radio. A lot of modern transceivers will have the sound card. They'll have two serial ports. They'll have a USB sound interface, and then they'll have a USB radio control interface, and the push to talk is sent over that USB interface to the radio. And just about all these computer software support the CAT control and all those things. So it's really not too hard. But you have to have an interface. Somehow you got to get your audio to and from your computer and a push to talk signal over to the radio. So that's the basic equipment that you need. And what software do you need? Well,
Hey, Steve, quick
ahead.
question.
Sure.
A lot of people are using these DigiRig, there are about 3 different versions, and the
right.
MobiLink or MobiLink.
Mhm.
Could you mention either of those for a minute?
Yeah, so DigiRig is it's similar to the Signal Link. The DigiRig, you buy it, you buy the interface cable that goes to your radio. Same thing with Signal Link. You buy a cable, when you buy a signal link, you buy it for, you got a Yaesu or an ICOM radio, there's a certain cable that will interface to the radio. Same thing with the DigiRig. The DigiRig's the same thing as a signal link, kind of. It's the same. It's got a USB interface to your computer for sound, and it does the push to talk coming out, uses Vox just like the signal link does. West Mountain has a bunch of stuff too that you can buy. Their audio interfaces, Rig Master, or let's see, I used to have one, but West Mountain has a digital interface. They all work about the same. They're all, is one better than the other? So I'd heard that the DigiRigs may not have the isolation that the Signal Link does. Signal Link has got real transformers in it, audio transformers, so there's no ground loop between the radio and the computer. I'm not sure DigiRig does that, but they all work about the same. If you buy a modern radio that has sound card built in, then you don't need any of those things. You just hook up the 2 USB ports to your computer and you're off and running. So that's the advantage of that. I've interfaced, so I've been around a long time. Old equipment. Used to build my own using the RS-232 signals to with the transistor, between them to do the push to talk, and use the clear to send, ready to send handshaking, and people don't do that much anymore. It's hard to find a real serial port anymore on a computer. So, but you got to have those kind of interfaces. Hopefully that answers your question. It was pretty generic in my answer, but hopefully that's okay. The software FLDigi is probably one of the most popular, and it's we call it the Swiss Army knife. It has all these digital modes basically that I was showing you. It's free. W1HKJ just lived about 30 miles from me over here in Athens, Alabama, and he's written all that software. Started, I think someone else, he's sort of getting up there in years, and someone else has taken some of that over, but he's done a great job. That's a great program. If you've got Ham Radio Deluxe, if you've already got Ham Radio Deluxe, you pay for that, but it has a digital master suite that's got all these modes on it also, and it works very nice. I did that for a long time early on when I was doing the RTTY and PSK31. I used to use Ham Radio Deluxe, and it's a nice little package. And then there's a bunch of them. These are just a few. Wind Warbler, RMS Express. Hopefully you guys do some WinLink stuff. That's a great for HF and VHF, and it works good for the WinLink things. There's MMTTY, which is strictly an RTTY program. It works good, and it's all free. The WSJTX, that's for the JT8, the JT65, and the FT8 modes. That's a free program also. That's for those particular ones, and we'll talk about that. But there's things called MixW, Whisper, DigiPan, and there's a bunch. And but if I'd started off, well, I think that's on my next one. I recommend you just start off. If you're just getting started, go get FLDigi. It's got just about everything in it. The interface, the radio support packages cover just about all the radio rigs that are out there, even the old ones. And so I recommend FLDigi. It's free. It supports all operating systems, supports most RadioCat, and it's a lot of YouTube help out there. YouTube is your friend on all this stuff. You can go find somebody that shows you how to interface to your particular radio and how to make it work, and a lot of good stuff out there. That's the beauty of the web on these kind of things.
Hey, Steve, does support several operating systems means Macintosh OS?
Mac, and that's right. It'll do Mac, and there's of course Windows, and then it'll also do the Raspberry Pi, the Linux stuff. There's a Linux version also of that. So that one is very well. He's done a good job on that. It's been around a long time. And it's got packages that you install, like FL Message, that we use it in our ARRI stuff here. We use the FLDigi and one of the protocols on 2 meters and 440 here. That's how we send pictures, and we send messages via that, a lot of our ARRI stuff. And we have a digital training net once a month and keep all of our radio working. And it works pretty good. It's good for that kind of thing. It works well through the repeaters, and pretty robust, and you can send it's got a package. You can send the 213 messages and radiograms and all those kind of things integrate well with that. So that works good. But so pick your software, install it, get your interface working, and play. Adjust the ALC on your transmitter. You want just a little movement when you're transmitting from your sound card. That's the most important setup parameter on all this digital stuff, is not overdriving your signal. If you if you overdrive, you'll splatter all over. And if you have 8-tone signal, it's 50 hertz wide, and you're over modulating, you're going to get those 8 tones plus or minus across that whole band there, and it's a bad thing. So really check your, make sure your ALC is right. You just want to see it move just a little bit. If it's moving too much, you're going to start distorting and splattering. And so most important thing on all these, no matter which digital mode you're on, that's an important piece of it. And remember, a lot of these are 100% duty cycle. So, use your low power, monitor your system, make sure you're safe there. Most of these digital modes under 100 watts is just fine. Will work good. Because the signal to noise is very well. Let's see. I think that's what I've got for my questions. For digital, what are the digital modes? So you may have deeper questions. You guys may have known all that stuff. I don't know. So what kind of questions do you have on that before we get into FT8? And so I guess that's the question. Do most of you do some kind of digital mode?
What are most people use when they do WinLink?
We use RMS Express. It's about everybody exclusively, and then in it interfaces, it has its own modem, WinMore, but you can use what's the new thing? We use it a lot here. That's
Verac.
No, yeah, it's Vara FM. Or Vara HF, Vera, I guess, VARA, and you got to pay like $65, but it's per call sign for life. So it gives you it's a little higher speed than a lot of these. We use it. We have a lot of Vara packet system stuff here in town, and we get 14, 20 kbits per second through our VHF systems here with that, and it looks very nice. But it works on HF too. But I use I do have a SCS, P4 Dragon that I use for a lot of stuff. But you don't need all that fancy equipment to do HF packet. And there's HF WinLink. We use, like I said, the RMS Express. We use that almost exclusively when we're trying to do our Aries test with the state. The state uses that, and we can talk to the state EOCs, and that stuff works pretty good, and we're able to send messages. So RMS Express is another good thing to go get. If you don't have it, that's a good tool, and then you can use it on HF, and you can use it for VHF.
Can you spell that or put it in the chat?
Yeah, RMS Express. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I'll put that in there. And actually, I'll send all these charts to Rob, I guess, when I'm done. And you guys can have it. There's nothing fancy here. Does that sound good, Rob?
I'll post
it, because you'll see if I go back. I think
you had it.
I thought I had RMS Express listed somewhere.
It was after that. Yeah, keep
After
going.
that, yeah, right here.
There.
So, yeah. So that's a good one. Yeah, this is a good chart here. The FL Digi stuff, I definitely have that in my package. And if you use Ham Radio Deluxe, you've already got this nice digital master thing that works pretty good. The learning curve is not too bad on this stuff. What I suggest doing, and I'll talk about that in the FT8, get on a dead band somewhere during the day and play with your radio. Check out your sound level, get your ALC working. You're not going to hurt anybody over there if you're messing up. And then, get your levels right so you're feeling comfortable with it. Figure out how your transmitter is working and if it's getting hot or warm, and find you a dead band during the day. tune up your stuff and play. And that's a good way to do it.
Bill and I ran into that ALC problem, right, Bill? When we trying to
Yeah.
got going.
Oh man. So did I stop sharing that? All right. So let me hold on a second.
I got a digital comment.
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead.
I was playing around with PSK 31.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I ran into, I mean, technically it was okay, but what I discovered was the exchanges was using like the Morse code pro signs, and you had the SK and the
Yeah, SK and R for over and or K
yeah.
for
I was
over.
like,
Yeah.
where the heck is that documented? And I gave up on it.
Oh, that's a good point. They do use that. I mean, I used to do 31 and done it forever, but I used to, it's just a few of them that they use, and I just figured out, but where's that documented? I don't know where that's documented. But you're right, that's more of a Morse code kind of it's a holdover from the CW days. It's shorthand, right? Um, so yeah, you're right. I don't know where that is.
Made me feel like a lid.
Well, don't feel like a lid. Just keep playing with it. Don't worry about that. Let me see if I can share. You can't see my screen right now, can you? Okay, hold on a second. How about that one? All right. Can you see that one coming up? All right. So we'll talk about this and then we'll get done. We can do as much time as you guys want on questions and stuff because I'm in no hurry. So, all right. So we're going to specifically talk about FT8. So this is probably the most popular thing right now. I've done 100 and I think 70 something countries on FT8. And I've got just about every state worked on every band on FT8. I'm missing a couple states on 160. So it's a great mode to play with and get a lot of stuff. So, all right. So what is FT8? FT8 stands for Frankie and Taylor 8 FSK modulation. That's what FT8 comes from. It was developed by Frankie K9AN and Joe Taylor K1JT, and they worked at Princeton, and they were really trying to do weak signal EME kind of stuff and some long distance microwave, and they needed some kind of way to send stuff and have, because of the signal noise is so terrible. Was there a modulation technique that could help, pull out stuff from the noise and make an intelligent, communications? And that's so they came up with that. They were working with a thing called JT9, JT65. Those were the early ones, and then morphed into this FT8 kind of thing. So they've done a lot of work, and they've given it, or it's free to the ham community to go experiment with, and it's really cool. And so what is FT8? So you transmit a sequence. A transmit sequence is 15 seconds long. It has forward error correction. It uses, the LDPC, which is low density parity check code, with 77 information bits, 14 bits of CRC, and 83 parity bits, making it a 174-bit code word. But you do 174 bits in 15 seconds, so it's pretty slow, okay? It uses 8-tone frequency modulations, and there's 6.25 hertz separated with a total of 50 hertz wide. So within that 50 hertz slot, you've got 8 tones, 6.25 hertz apart. Pretty tight. And for synchronization, it uses a technique called Costa arrays, and there's a 7x7 in the beginning, middle, and the end to help sync the synchronization. I've done a few where the front end of the transmission had noise on it, but it was able to sync through the middle and the end and still get my information through. Transmission is 12.64 seconds of that 15 seconds, and there's like a 2.5 second pause, and then you'll hear the response, right? So it's 12.64 seconds, couple seconds deadband, and then you'll hear everybody crank back up again for another 12 seconds. But it's a 15-second on-off transmission cycle. You've got to have a stable, accurate clock in your PC. Your PC clocks are stable enough, but they got to be on the right time. They got to be within plus or minus a second. And that's not hard to do. There's programs you can download that automatically keep your clock synced up, and that's usually not a problem. But you do need to have a good clock before you start. If your clock's off 3 or 4 seconds or 5 seconds, you're not going to be able to communicate with folks. So that's an important piece of that. So FT8 is one of the JTX family of digital modes, specifically for weak signals. Single sideband has a signal to noise ratio of about +10. CW is about -15, and FT8 is about -21 dB. So, so it's about a 31 dB difference between single sideband and FT8 signal to noise, which means I can run 1 watt on FT8 is equal to a kilowatt on single sideband for signal to noise getting the stuff. It's amazing if you think about it in those terms. That's why it's real popular. A lot of people like it. It's great for parks on the air, for low power kind of things. It's a good mode to go off and play around with, and it works pretty good. So just that's an amazing statistic there on that. Let me see here. So if you look at this chart here, comes from Club Log. I didn't create it. But you see in 2017, down here on the bottom, is about when FT8 got introduced, and you see it spiked up in popularity, and it's, I got the next chart has a pie chart of all these numbers, but you can see, so this orange down here is CW, this is phone in the blue, I think green is maybe RTTY, or F is FTT4, and RTTY is down here, so I go to this chart in 2020, 51% of all the activity on the ham bands was FT8. And FT4 is growing. FT4 is a 7.5 second version versus a 15-second version of FT8. It's a quicker mode. Some people get bored with the 15 seconds. 15 seconds, it takes 2.5 minutes to do a QSO. FT4 is half that time, and it works pretty good, but its signal to noise ratio is higher because it's a little bit wider. But FT8, FT4, there's phones. CW is still hanging in there, which is great. But that just gives you an idea of the popularity of this mode, and there's a lot of folks out there. And then I don't know how many people on this have many of you done FT8? Are you guys old hats at it, or learning, or anybody know?
I've been doing parks on the air with FT8 now since July.
Okay, good.
And it's I don't know if you get on there and the phone part of the band is dead, there's always somebody on FT8, and within the software you can add POTA to the CQ.
That's right.
And you're guaranteed to get a pileup on FT8. Pileups are fun.
That's right. Well, good. I'm hoping you guys have tried it. So if you haven't, it's fun to play with, and it isn't too hard. So how does this thing work? So the FT8 contact designed to share the bare minimum to make a QSO legal. Your call sign, you get a signal report, your location through Grid Square, and there's an optional 13-character message that can go out to the end of your text there. And you usually use auto sequencing, and we'll talk about that in a second. FT8 contacts are valid for most awards. DXCC worked all states, worked all continents, and you can go read the lot of debates on the internet. Some people can't stand that because FT8, like I said, I did 160 countries. I mean, in the old days, DXCC, boy, you worked hard and you had to go get the cards, and it was tough. And I respect older guys like myself, I guess, who did their DXCC. Man, that is an amazing task. You can go get 100 countries in a couple days on FT8, maybe, if you work at it, So it's nice from that perspective. But if you compare the way we had to do it in the old days, and the struggles and the time and all they had put in, it's hard to compare the two. So hats off to the old guys like myself. So but DXCC, but the contacts do work for these awards. It's You can work a lot of countries fairly quickly. There's a lot of countries on, and so it's fun. And then you can use them for rewards, and most of these programs they support Logbook of the World and EQSL and QRZ and all those things. So we're going to get into the specifics of the QSO here in just a second. But again, there's my same picture before. You got to have a computer interface to make it work. Software, you get the FT8 program from this website right here. Like I said, I'll send you guys the charts. You'll have all this stuff. Here's a time sync application that I use called Dimension 4. You load it on your PC. It's power on resident, but it just sits there and syncs your clock to the world time server, every how often you want it. But that just runs and your clock's always up to date, so that works good.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. And there's a companion program called JT Alert, and this thing is great. And once you get into FT8, and we'll talk about this in just a minute. But it gives you audio and visual alerts for your wanted entities. What states, what countries, what grids do I need? It's great, and it does auto logging for you. And it's a great companion. It integrates in with FT8, and so I recommend that if you get into FT8. So you got to connect your equipment, get your radio hooked up, your sound card going, your PC, download, install the software. Inside the software, you got to put your station information and your grid square, your call sign, your location, get your audio interface selected, get your radio control set up, synchronize your clock with your PC thing, and then select you an operating frequency. And these are the FT8 operating frequencies today. Set your channel bandwidth to 2.7 kilohertz. Get your RF power adjusted. JT8 is a full duty cycle, mode. Your transmitter is going to be 100% for 15 seconds, rest 15 seconds, and then on again for 15 seconds if you're doing a lot of activity. So it's pretty tough on them. Get your AF output level, barely move the ALC. Again, most critical setup parameter for setting up these digital modes. And let's see. So there's a WS-JTX user guide that's pretty good that they put out. It's got a lot of good documentation on how to set it up, how to do all this stuff. Bunch of YouTube videos out there. Those are your friends. Don't use more power than you need, of course. And consider using a deadband for initial transmit setup. Turn on auto sequence. Listen for a while. Familiarize yourself with the sequence. When I first started, I didn't really know much about this stuff. I still don't know everything about it. And I had to listen and figure out how it's working and where do I transmit and how do I set it all up. And you just learn and then you get to be an expert on it. There's a waterfall part of the JTX package, and you're going to use that a lot. And we'll talk about that in the next couple of charts. So what does the interface look like? So the WS-JTX interface, the main, and we're going to go into the details on each of these windows, but you have on the left, upper left is your band activity. These are all the QSOs going on a certain time slot. And on the bottom is the control interface for your radio and the contact that you're having. On the right is where your receiver in your audio passband slice. That's where your receiver is located. That's what it's decoding. Your 50 hertz decode window is right there. And we're going to talk about each of these in the next chart. So here's the control interface. So you've got your QSO control up here, and this is you don't do much up here. It's gonna decode every 15 seconds. Usually always monitoring. You can hit CQ only if you in this band activity. You'll see everything. If you just want to see who's calling CQ, you can select that, and it will suppress everything except who's calling CQ, because it can be overwhelming to look at all that decode real quickly and look through there to see who's calling CQ. So I use that quite a bit, turn it on and off based on what I'm doing. But you don't have to do much up here on the controls. This is your receive level. I usually run mine up around 60, 70%. I don't That seems to work great for me. This is going to tell you the frequency you're on. You can see when I did this one back in 2020. But this tells you if you're talking to somebody, here's the call sign of who you're working, here's their grid square, and it uses QRZ data, I think, to come up with the azimuth and how far away they are. But this tells you the mode you're receiving when you're transmitting. That turns to transmit. I use the Flex 6500. Here's the mode you're in. You can, if you change the modes, it will show up down here as FT4, FT8, JT65. The last thing that I transmitted was a 7.3 to this guy. And then this is your transmitter control. This is where you can, if you click on somebody in the window, CQ will automatically enable your transmit. And when the right timing happens, it will respond. And if it doesn't hear anything back, it will try again. But sometimes you'll see that somebody else responded to whoever you were trying to get a hold of. So you can just hit halt transmit, and that you can immediately stops transmitting when you do that. There's a tune button here. When you hit tune, it does tune at the very low end of the band, so you're not going to be clobbering on top of somebody, okay? In the pass band, it tunes on the dial frequency, okay? So that's a good thing. You can tune, and you're not going to be over in the middle on top of somebody. That works pretty good. Here's your transmit power or your audio level output. I usually max this out here, and I use my control somewhere else to set my audio level. But you can play with it here. But I found for me, I max that out and then use my radio audio control somewhere else to go do that. And then these are the messages. What happens is, I think on my next page, I'm going to go through all this, but if someone's calling CQ and I click on them and it auto-populates this for me. The messages get auto-populated. And the first thing I would, if someone was calling CQ and I clicked on them, the next thing I'm going to send them is this guy here with this K, this is K9, this is me, and this is my grid square. And then he's going to come back with a signal report for me. And then the next thing I'm going to send is this message down here, number 3. I'll say, here's your signal report. And then he's going to come back and say, I got it, 73s. And then I'm going to send a 7.3, and then we are done. Now, if I was calling CQ, okay, I can go down here, I can call CQ. Someone answers me. You know, they're answering me with their grid square. Then I'm going to come back with the signal report for them. And then I'm going to give them a 7.3s, and then I'm done. So this auto sequence is for you once you start the activity. So that's the way that works. Let me get to the next one here. So, sure. Yeah.
You may get to it later.
That's okay.
One of my big questions about using this was call first, the TX even first, and the TX and RX over there, the pull downs.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Oh, so yes, we didn't even talk about these, did we? So yeah, thank you for telling me. I didn't even talk about TXRX. So you know, you're going to either transmit the even is the top of the minute, or if you undo this, you'll transmit on the second 15 seconds of the minute. So this is just, where do I want to put my transmit? Where do I, if I say transmit, do I want to transmit at the top of the minute or the 15 minutes after the minute, right? So there's two cycles. We'll show that on maybe on a next chart. This is where you and this is the frequency you're going to transmit at within the passband, right? Remember the audio passband. So if I'm at 14,074, this is going to be 14,75,110, right? So that's where I am in the waterfall, and then I'll receive on the same frequency. So I'm going to transmit and I'm going to listen, and I'm going to transmit and I'm going to listen on the same frequency, unless I'm doing split operation. We'll talk about that. And I always want auto. I think you want auto sequence there. You can manually do these, transmit this one, transmit that one, but you got to be thinking and be alive to go do that. Auto sequence does it all for you. And then if I have multiple people calling me, who am I going to answer? I want to answer whoever called me first, and that's what this is about. And So let me go down here to this one. So this is that band activity. So what you see in here is you see time. So at this 30, right, it's going to be 0, 30, 15, and 45, right? Because it's every 15 minutes, 15 seconds on the hour, you'll get a new one of these. But this is the time. And then the next thing is what's his signal level? It's relative to my noise floor. And then what's his delta T from my clock, right? Remember I said if it's a couple, so if it's a second and a half, like the one at the bottom down here, I decoded him, but if he's 2 seconds or so, I might still decode him, but he's going to show up as red. But this is how good his time is relative to my time. And then this is the frequency in the passband that signal is in. So you can see in this particular one swath, there's, I don't know how many signals here, we'll say 20 something signals, all in one passband, one slot of time. So what you see is up here at the top, can you guys see my cursor on there or not? Maybe you can't see my cursor working. I'm pointing with my cursor and you're probably not able to see it. But at the top up there in the green, we're on the message side here. Those guys are calling CQ, all right? And then the way this works is the first call sign is who it's to, and the next call sign is who it's from. So on a single line, who it's, you can't see my cursor, it might be tough. But it's who it's to, who it's from, and then then the information, whether it's a grid square or a signal report or a 7.3, that's what changes. Let me think if I can help. You can't see my cursor moving around, can you?
Oh, we can.
Oh, you can. Okay, good. Well, it might be slow. I might talk faster than my cursor moves, but so we're going to focus on this 2 right here, right? So this KD3 signal, this KD3 station is telling KC1, hey, I'm in FM19. All right. And then this particular one here, this N7 station is telling KA5, hey, your signal report's this. So they're within this, they're in that sequence, right? Either sending a signal report, a location, or a 7.3, or calling CQ. You're only going to do those 4 things. Let's see. We're going to go through a complete detail in just a second. If you've got JT Alert, that companion program I'm talking about, it will do things like, if it's in gray, I've already worked that guy, okay? So don't need to work him again. Or if it's in yellow and red, then hey, that's a new entity for me. I don't have him. And that's something I want to go concentrate on. Or if it's in this aqua or greenish pink looking thing here, then it's a new grid square for me. You know, so hey, I want to go work my new grid square. So example, here's a guy, CQ, this LU8 station. I don't have his grid square. So that'd be a priority for me. I'd go click on him and then I'd start trying to work him. So JT8 allows you to do that kind of stuff. It highlights things that you're looking for. You can set all these parameters, you know, so I'll tell you if you've worked something before, if it's something that you need, something else that you need, whether it's a new entity like a new country or a new state, if you got states working there, it's a really nice thing to go have. So let's go look at this the station. This is my receive station. So here's an example of a QSO. All right, this K9R station is calling CQ. Oops, sorry about that. Oop. He's calling CQ, and he's in Echo November 52 location. So he calls CQ. So I say, hey, I'm going to answer him. And so he's transmitting here on this passband, and I go right back to him and I say, hey, K9R, this is me, KM4. And here's my grid square. And he says, great, Steve. Okay, this is K9R calling KM4CJ. Here's your signal report. And then I go back to him and say, well, great, here's your signal report. He says 73s, and then I say 73. That's a complete QSO right there. And it happened, if you see the seconds here, at 45, remember they're 15 seconds, 45 at the top of the hour, 15, 30, 45 seconds, and 0. So it took, what, minute and a half to do a QSO, okay? So that's the exchange. That's the sequence that it usually happens. Any questions on that? And I clicked on this and I sat back and my computer sent this. He sent that. My computer auto sequenced because he sent that. I decoded it and said, okay, now I'm going to send this. And then because he sent 73, then I sent a 73. The computer did all that. All I did was click on him, and the computer did all the rest. Okay. And had he not responded, I'd keep sending the thing that I need from him, right? So if I clicked on his CQ and he didn't come back to me, I'd send this. Then my next transmission, I'd send it again, and it's set up to 10 times, and then it times out. But yeah, I usually exit after 3 or 4 times. I don't want to keep sending stuff out there. So that's the way that works. And then if I got a signal report and I sent my signal report, but I never got his 73, I'd send my signal report again until he acknowledges. This 73 says he acknowledged he got my signal report. And because I sent a signal report, acknowledge that I got his. So this way, you confirm, the contact gets confirmed all the way through because you've completed the message sequence. And let's see. Yeah, go ahead.
So in the first one, the KF4 KWR, so he's transmitting the time at 00. So that's the top of the minute.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So he would transmit in 0 and 30, and then you would transmit back to him at 15 and 45.
So if he goes in 0, if I had answered him, I would go back at 15, at 0015. See, this was 00. This was 30 seconds before, or 45 seconds before this one. So I could have. I didn't try to call this. I didn't try to call this guy. I just, my passband. I'm trying to think. I was at 2907, then that's 2114. Then I must have clicked on this guy, but I didn't try to respond to him. This is just history, right? This guy at 00 called CQ, and then this guy did at the same time. One's at 907 hertz, one's 2114. And then this K2AK replied back to this guy, right? And so they're having it. So they started off on a QSO, and then I clicked on this one, and then we just did our own thing here. When I'm transmitting, of course, I can't decode the other guys. So that was just history. You see the time up here. That was 45 seconds before I answered this guy. So that was just something that happened. Does that make sense, Rob?
Yes, that's the odd time slot, I guess, is.
That's right.
And then you responded on the even one at 00, or in your case 01.
That's right.
And then he came back 15 seconds later at 15, and you went back. Okay, I got that.
That's it.
So you'll see CQs will be coming in both time slots, and it's just the one that you answered. You'll go into that mode, I guess. You just
That's right.
fit in there. Okay, great. Thanks.
And then there's a waterfall piece, and you can see here's all these QSOs going on within that audio passband, right? That's what's kind of cool about it, right? When we talk single sideband, we're all over here, right? Just you and I talking. But there's a lot of conversations going on here. So it's an efficient use of the bandwidth. So here's those 15-second windows again. You can see this guy's probably, this could have, I'm not saying this was me, but matter of fact, I was over here. But this guy talked, this guy responded, he responded to him, this guy came back. You can sort of see this signal color here and this signal color are the same. This is the same station. So he maybe called CQ, he came back with the signal report, he came back with the signal report 73, 73, and these guys are done. All right, so that's what you're looking at here. Now, some of these guys are working split too, where they're transmitting here and receiving somewhere else. I work split a lot, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But this is your waterfall. Let's talk about what the waterfall shows. So this is your transmit and receive, where you transmit, where you're going to receive. Green's your receive. So you could work split and have your transmitter over here somewhere and your receivers bouncing around to whoever you're trying to work. These are the 15-second transmit windows. Of course, red is strong, blue is weaker signal. This is an average signal strength. I don't use that much, that's nice. But you really want to, wherever you got your transmitter, you need to, I use this a lot because you want to make sure you're not on top of somebody. You got to look for a clear spot to transmit, right? So, and sometimes like on 20 meters, this thing is just blanket. It's tough. But let's say I've listened for a while. You see this spot up here? I could right click on my mouse and I move my transmit spot here. Then I could call CQ, and that's probably a good place. But you gotta, you want to be nice and not clobber people and all that kind of stuff. So that's the waterfall. And then if you work split, you can have your transmitter here and your receiver here, and I'm transmitting here and I'm receiving him, and I'm transmitting and I'm receiving. And but the good news on that, if you've got 20 people trying to answer the guy who's calling CQ on the one frequency, I can call him over on another frequency, and I'm not clobbering on top of those other guys. But sometimes the band is so crowded you don't have space to go operate. So, but here's an example over here. This was a busy day, so let's start at the top. So I'm calling CQ. All right, I just go out there and I say, hey, I call CQ. Here's my grid square, and on the next cycle, 2 people answered me. This N6 station, the KI5 station, they answered me. N6 was first, so I answered N6. And I said, hey, here's your signal report. And N6 came back and said, hey, here's your signal report. KI5 again was calling me again, because I didn't answer him. So he's calling me back again. And then KIO comes in. He says, hey, I'm answering your CQ too. So I'm working this guy, and I got these 2 guys calling me. So I get done with N6I, send him a 7.3. He sends a 7.3 back. I'm done with him. And when he sent me a 73, KOIEs call me. So they're calling me on different frequencies, right? So then I said, so I sent a signal report. So I answered KI5. He was the next in line up here. And then KIO still calling me, but I'll have to get to him in just a minute. And I send a signal report to KI5. KIO sends me a signal report. Then I send a signal report to KIO, and then he responds back with a signal report to me. I get another signal report. Finally, say 7.3. So that guy, I got another guy calling me. It was a pileup. KM4CJ was a pileup, man. I was working it. So I worked this guy. Then I finally, this guy, KI5, so he didn't get all my responses. So he's calling me again. So he didn't get, I may have answered him, but he didn't acknowledge that he got it. So he's coming back again. We finally answered him, 73s, he's good. KI5's done. And then he sends me another signal report. And then I go back again. So I think he was sort of stuck sending stuff to me. He was maybe not doing auto sequence or something. But I finally got him taken care of. And then I finished out with this KC0 station, and that was it. But so we started at 0. So there's 2.5 minutes, right? 2 minutes and 4. There's 3 minutes worth of stuff. That's pretty intense, pretty quick stuff. So that's a lot of talking. This JT Alert is a little program that runs, and like I said, and it will decode those. You don't have to go look at all those lines of stuff. It decodes them this way and highlights what you might be looking for. And they'll tell you if they're calling CQ or 7.3s. That helps put together the information. You don't have to look at every line and try to figure it out. And the things that I'm looking for will show up in this window. And if I'm working somebody, it shows up over here if they call me. So JT Alert is a pretty cool package. And let's see.
That's nice that it shows you the countries, because that's one thing I show people when we get on. Say, look, and when it receives, and then you see it's like receiving from all over the world. Like here, you got Canada, Argentina, and
Kiribati, wherever that is.
Yeah.
This T32. So that's and that's a country I didn't have, right? So that's why it's highlighted like that. Now, you notice he's doing 2 of them, right? Sometimes there's different modes where they, contest modes too, where people go on these de-expeditions, and there's a de-expedition mode called Hunter Fox Hunt or something like that, and they will transmit 8 CQs, and you answer them, and they'll work you a lot faster, real efficient mode. And I've done a little bit of that. I'm not an expert on that yet, but it does work, and it's a pretty efficient mode. And it's a contest mode. You put the JTX in the contest mode in the setup, and it's the Foxhound mode, and they're on one side of the. They usually go to another pass band, another frequency outside of the normal thing, and then half of the lower half of the band is them calling, and then the other half is you answering, and it keeps it separated. But it works pretty good. And then this PSK reporter is a cool thing. You just go type in this URL up here, and then you can type in, hey, show me all the FT4 signals on 20 meters or all bands or whatever you want that's either heard me or I've worked in the last hour. So if I go back, let me go back. This is kind of interesting. So every time I decode this, I send that out to PSK reporter. I heard WV8, I heard W0NV, I heard AE2A. I heard all these, right? Because I just decoded all of them. So all that information gets put out to PSK reporter. And you can look in the last hour, it tells you, hey, this is sort of your cone of your hotspot here. You can look up here, this Alaska station. I clicked on him 30 minutes ago. I worked him 30 minutes ago up there, and this tells you, you can get a snapshot. You can do an hour or 30 minutes or 10 minutes or 24 hours and see what you've heard and who's heard you, kind of thing. So that's a neat little program. PSK Reporter is a pretty cool tool. And here's this WLJ, this WL7. I went and picked the log out here where I'd worked him. This was my, from my little JT8 log over there. So that was pretty cool. So PSK Reporter is cool. So when I run, I have a large, 20-something inch screen. And this is what my operating screens look like when I'm running. So I've got my JTX over here and waterfall, and then I've got the JTX alert at the bottom. I got my QRZ logbook here. Automatically, all my logs go to my QRZ logbook, and then I sync that to the logbook of the world. And then this is my flex control over here. And this is typical waterfall, right? So you'll see 15 seconds of this. I'm actually transmitting here, I think. That's why, but you'll see a little gap, and then the 2.5 second gap, and then you'll see the next guy's responding. So it looks sort of like that. So that's what I have on FT8. Now we'll go back and answer questions or whatever I can maybe help you with.
I have kind of a question for you that I don't know quite how to phrase this. I see you're using a flex radio. I'm usually, when I'm doing a POTA activation, using a Yaesu radio. And I know that the ALC, if I can keep it below 1 on the scale, that's about right. Between 1, maybe right at 1. How do you set the control in the in the FT8 software? How do you set it so it's not over modulating on the flex radio?
Okay, so on the flex has another code that's called your DAX control. You see,
right.
Yeah,
no, I got that.
Yeah, so on the DAX, if I pull it up, it's got the input from the sound card here, and I pull it down to my, when I till my ALC, this one's not showing it, but till my ALC is about -10, -5 is where my ALC peaks. So I adjust it, and then and that's usually it doesn't change much. I've got everything in the Windows set at 100%. Over here set at 100%, and the only control I have is the input from the sound card to my radio, and I can control it through my DAX control. Does that make sense?
I kind of hit on that. What I did was set it to when I was trying to figure it out. I set it to 40 watts because 40 is actually marked on the scale up there. And then I would set the control in the FT8 software until the power output was just below 40 watts, like at 38 or 39. And then I noticed when I did that in the level, the little square block would go right up below the zero, but the average level was like 2 ticks down from that. And I think, okay, that must be the maximum I can get.
Right.
But I've just sort of guessed at it. I wondered how an expert would actually set
Well,
it.
I'm not an expert, but that's how I think you got it about right.
All
I
right.
think you got it about right. Yep. You
That
don't
was
want to
my question.
go. You don't want to go above zero, and your peaks. And it's okay to be a little less than just to have some clean signals. But I think you got it right.
Yeah, it behaves differently from phone to digital, so I just sort of guessed.
That's it.
And I remember reading somewhere that one of the other people, when I first started playing with it on the other radios, said that the way he adjusted was he ran it until the power out on the meter showed exactly what he had it set to, and then he backed it down a notch or two. So that's kind of what I was shooting for. Okay, you answered my question.
Yeah. Okay. Well, very good. That's a great question. This is what when I did this for the Huntsville Amateur Radio Club, and it was a Zoom meeting. I did a demo where I pulled in this screen right here and did a live. I figured that's a little much for tonight, but I did a live thing, and it worked pretty good. I could show it, kind of neat. What other questions might you have?
So, hey, Bill, can we demonstrate this at one of our next outings? Just show the people, play with this, and they can see it working right in front of them.
Yeah, we've done that. We've done that a couple times. I've actually taken out and set up at Brook Run. As a matter of fact, you alluded to it earlier that one of you guys got in there and messed around with it, and they were pushing it. I mean, it was the ALC, Scott, was pegging every time, and I had everything pulled down to zero, and it was still pegging. And so I got it home and I said, let me figure out what these guys did, so if it ever happens again, we can undo it. And the only solution I came up with was to uninstall the FT8, the WSG software, and just basically reinstall it, because I don't know what they did to it. But I could pull everything down to zero and it was still pushing ALC on the radio to 100%.
Yeah,
it was bad.
When the ALC gets really bad, you'll see their message like 3 or 4 times in this window, okay? Because they've splattered, right? This thing decodes them here, then they've got a harmonic or mix over here, and you'll see them decoded 3 or 4 times the same message over. That means they're splattering all over the place.
Yeah, I didn't want to splatter on people, so when I brought the radios home and set it up, I put it on a dummy load.
Yeah, that's right. But
just see if I can figure out what it was. And Rob, I never did figure out what happened. I just uninstalled the software and reinstalled it, and that fixed it.
Didn't do anything. We were just looking at the screen trying to answer CQs, and I'm trying to tell Scott that, and he's like, "You said this thing works, so it usually works." we couldn't get it. Couldn't get out to save our lives.
I've never been able to reproduce it, but here at home, I've got a Flex 6300, Scott, and I took it out to the park. The problem with the Flex is you got to have a laptop that can run as long as you want to, and I hadn't had one. And I finally got one of those little cheap $100 laptops, and that stupid thing will run for 8 hours on a battery charge. So I took the Flex out the day before yesterday for the very first time and did a park activation with it. And like I say, if you put a Flex radio next to a radio you like, you'll pretty soon figure out the radio you like is not as good as you thought it was. And I'm thinking the Flex may actually end up being my Parks on the Air radio from here on out. Anyway, I'm talking too much. Back over here.
No, that's great. Yeah, I've got a 65. I have 6500, which is one of the early ones, and it's great for these digital things. The integration's fairly easily, and I really do like it. It works good for me.
Yeah, I was sitting there at the park and I was pulling out stations, and I was showing Ed, he'd never seen one before, but I was actually pulling out stations that you couldn't even see the signal twitch, and I could still work them on the radio. It's just, it's
amazing.
Yeah, and as far as FT8 goes, you're right. Once you get it plugged up, it's just you just start the software and run it. There's no cabling, there's no hookup, no nothing. It
Mm-hmm.
just works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's good.
That is
Hey,
good.
Steve, thanks for the presentation. It was great, answered loads of my questions.
Good.
I've got to
Good.
go because I'm a working stiff. I got to get up at the crack of
Well,
crack. So
I understand.
73, everybody.
Well, 73.
Good night.
Yeah. So, if there any more questions, come on. If not, I'll be finished then.
Come on,
Anything
Arnold.
else?
Come on, Arnold. You're out there. You got to have a question.
Did Arnold leave us?
No, I don't have a question. Steve did a good job of addressing the split operation and Fox and Hound.
Yeah. So I'll send the charts to Rob, and then he can put them in your whatever you guys got. I mean, all this stuff, and you can use them for other. You can use them and show them to anybody you want. I'm cool with that. So free use of that. We're all hams trying to help each other out. Okay.
And I'll let you know when the video hits YouTube.
Okay. That sounds great.
Yeah, the only other comment I'd want to make here is I'm still fairly new to FT8, though I have done probably 10 park activations at this point where I've specifically sat down to do FT8 and nothing else. And one of the issues, have you tried any of the other variations on the WSG or whatever?
Well, I
software?
use FT4 a lot. I like FT4 because it's twice as fast.
Okay, I wasn't even going there. I was talking about the other software. They have one.
Oh, the other, yeah. There's a WSJTX DX. It's called DX, and DX is a very similar to this, but it another guy took it and rewrote it, and it's similar to this, and it's got a lot of improvements and a lot of cool things in it that I haven't tried them all out yet. But there's another version of the FT8. It's called WSJTDX instead of X. That's the only one that I know of for the FT8 stuff. And then I've got a few Whisper nodes that I built. Whisper uses this. Whisper is another mode on this, and it's a weak signal propagation. That's what that stands for. I've got one on 30 meters and one on 20 meters that runs 24/7. It runs a milliwatt, or 3 milliwatts or something like that.
Right.
And it just that's like a 40-something second transmission. It's a whole nother algorithm for super weak signal. And then if you go to PSK Reporter and look at my call sign and Whisper, you'll see those things. And
there's one of them that one of the issues I have doing POTA in particular when I put POTA in the CQ is I'll work a station and we'll get through the 73s and get to the end and I'll work somebody else. And maybe within a couple of minutes, here comes this guy, and he's answering my CQ again. I just worked him, he's doing it again. And apparently he's got either some automated software or else he's just not paying attention. But
that's right.
it's a version of this same software. It's in the same area on Git that you can click on a call sign, right click and say ignore, and it just doesn't decode him anymore.
Yeah, that's the DX. I think the JT, that's the feature, one of the features that it has. You just say ignore them because some people don't know. They leave their transmitter going and or hit. They don't. They're new, figuring it out maybe. But yeah, it can be because then you're looking. Oh man, somebody's calling me. Wait a minute, I already worked that guy.
Yeah.
But if you have the JT alert now, it's going to show up as gray the next time he calls you because he just worked it.
I hadn't seen JT alert, but I'll look it up. What I normally do is go into that CQ where it says CQ first and just make it none. And at that point, you're driving. If you don't pick them, you don't answer them.
That's right.
Okay, that's okay. I just want to see if you'd had that same problem.
Yep, I sure have. But check out JT alert, boy. That'll be your friend.
I'll do that before I go to bed tonight. Trust me.
That is cool because I set up all the states and I know because I don't have to look at the decodes. It says here's Wyoming on 30 meters or here's, it figures all that out for you. And then okay.
As long as you got an internet connection.
Yeah, you got to have an internet connection for that to work right.
All right, that's it. I'm done. I'm talking too much.
I'm of course never done the. Can we email you if we run into a problem, Steve?
Yeah, you can email. Sure, man. I'm here to help. That's what I do, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys when the next Huntsville Ham Fest comes. We're gonna maybe we'll get together,
Yes.
check out. Yeah.
I'm hoping for Winter Field Day, like Rob says. The POTA activation I did the day before yesterday was an experiment. The laptop that I have, that $100 laptop, it charges on 12 volts. And so I made a power connector for it so I could run it on the same battery as the radio. So it should have almost unlimited lifespan. So Winter Field Day, my goal is to bring out the Flex and do nothing but FT8 for the entire Winter Field Day. So maybe you get a chance to come out and visit us at Winter Field Day and join in.
Well, got to drive over. That'd be cool. We're gonna go to Monte Sano State Park for Winter Field Day, so we'll be having POTA there. So maybe we'll talk. We'll work each other on our POTAs.
Okay, but let's don't do that thing where you call me on the phone and tell me where you are. So that just creeps me out doing that.
Yes, I know what you mean.
All right, man.
I got one last one.
Yeah.
Oh, Jordan Shearer is a ham here, and he did a presentation for us several years ago where he's got JS8 call out, which is a variation of FT8. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, JS8. It's I don't know the specifics on the tones, but it's just another weak signal mode. It works similar. I mean, it's just another mode. There's a bunch of them, and you can go up here on this mode thing, and I think that one of those may even be in here. There's 65. There's JT9. There's a bunch, but it's just another one. I haven't used it. I've seen it, but I haven't used that one.
Because he said that it lets you. It's not CAN like this. You can actually have a QSO where you type a message in.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. You can type in the message rather than just these canned things.
But it's a slow motion QSO.
But it's slow motion. It's slow. It's slow. So see, for something like that, I'd go use PSK31 or something. It's a lot faster and it's about the same bandwidth, and I don't know. It's all signal noise and all that kind of stuff. Do you need all that deep signal processing? It depends on what you're trying to do, right? If you're really trying to work someone weak, then you need a weak signal thing. If you don't, then you can use something like a PSK31 and knock them out pretty quick.
All right. Any more questions?
One more. I'm curious. The FCC, doesn't allow. They don't talk about digital IDing over digital. It's what CW, slow scan, RIDI, and voice, and they never mentioned digital.
Yeah. So of course, in this mode, your call sign's sent every time you transmit. It's in the message, and it's not encrypted, so it's legal. And so your call signs on every transmission is in here. So you're IDing, so you're in pretty good shape on this mode.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Anything else? Well, thanks for the presentation. It was a good one. And like I say, Rob will let you know when we get it posted. I really appreciate you coming over and spending your time with us this evening.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. I enjoyed the invitation. I appreciate you guys are great. And maybe we'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right, man. 7-3.
7-3s, guys.
All right. Do we have any more business for this evening? Anything? Once? Twice?
Lunch tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Rob, do lunch. I won't be there tomorrow.
Yeah, I heard that. 12:30, Los Bravos, Mexican food at Johnson Ferry and Ashwood Dunwoody. And we usually have about 10 people there. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, food's good. The restaurant's good, and they seem to like us pretty good.
Yeah, we get good service as opposed to some of the other places we've been to. But there's a good crowd there. It's getting some good conversations.
Yeah.
So I would recommend we have newcomers who haven't been there before, and we bring them in and talk to them.
But I won't be there tomorrow, Rob. I'm going to pass and go hit Darn Carter, and then probably do a POTA activation in some bramble field. And Ed, I don't blame you for not coming. Some of the roads are kind of rough. If I find one where the road is fairly decent in and out, not muddy and gravelly, I'll give you a call and you and I'll hit it next time. All right. You're mudded, I think. All right, Ed, see your mouth moving, but not hearing anything.
Well, Bill, you can expect it to be
About
pretty
now?
cold tomorrow.
Well, it's
Yeah,
winter
I
time,
was-
Arnold. What do you expect?
I was just saying, I don't like cold, so I probably wouldn't want to be there tomorrow anyway, but I appreciate the mention.
All right, yeah, I've got a coat, so I'm not too worried about it. Now, there's like 5 state parks, and I think I've hit each one of them like 4 or 5 times now. So I'd like to find some variety. I don't want to be like that guy who went to 0662 829 times. I mean, come on, guys, it's a big state. All right, that's it. I'm out of here. 7-3, guys. We'll see you at
Yeah.
Want the red top, Bill?
whatever. We'll see you later. Thanks, Rob.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
73